Hello there guys, what is going on? Son of Chelsea back here again for the first video in a while. I haven't said that opening in quite a while. Apologies for the lack of videos. As I think I've explained over the past few months, and as I'm sure some of you guys know, obviously my new role with Football London, Carefree Chelsea, writing a lot of articles. It's been quite intense, so kind of managing my new schedule, but want to get back to making videos. I didn't just want to let this channel kind of die and just whilst I'm doing the other role, I'm not posting anything to this, given how hard I've worked on the channel in recent years, the amazing support you guys have given, the comments I've got on Twitter asking when I'm going to make a next video. It's really appreciated. Things are going well with Chelsea, obviously winning last night. This is going to be my rational perspective on the Brentford win. 1-0. It was intense. I definitely had a headache after the game. Obviously, I was working on the game. I was writing a piece post-match about Ben Chilwell that I'll link below. But that last like 20, 25 minutes, it felt a lot longer than 20 minutes. Chelsea, the onslaught from Brentford. But it was a massive win, I think. And I do feel that like we can go overboard with the issues. It kind of does feel like first real problems with Chelsea at the moment. We're European champions. We're top of the Premier League. That doesn't mean that the issues that we can speak about in terms of the attack, most likely, I think, is kind of the biggest issue at the moment, getting Lukaku in, which I do think are very relevant and very valuable things to speak about. I don't think we're going overboard about that because I do have concerns. I do feel that the underlying numbers, when you look at XG, when you look at the quality of chances Chelsea are creating, I just don't think it's sustainable. And the man behind me, Edouard Mendy, as he proved again last night and as he has so far this season, is bailing Chelsea out at times. You know, we aren't maybe as rigid defensively, you know, but he's been incredible so far. And because we're not scoring as much, we're not being as clinical at the top end of the pitch. You know, Mendy is having to bail us out at times. Which is expected. You know, I do also think, you know, our fixture list has been more difficult than others. We've gone away to Liverpool and got a point. We've played Man City. Yes, we can make all the jokes about Arsenal and Tottenham, but those are two difficult away games. They're big London derbies that Chelsea navigated really well this season. You look at Aston Villa, Southampton games, you know, two fixtures that Chelsea have dropped points in over recent years. And of course, Brentford, who've played really well so far this season. I don't think how close it was last night didn't really shock me. I expected a difficult game, and that's absolutely what Chelsea got in the final 20 minutes. I just think that overall in this next run of games that Chelsea have, I think Tuchel needs to find the solutions in attack to create better quality opportunities, in particular getting Lukaku more on the ball. But let's talk about the positives. As I say, Edouard Mendy, just looking overall this season, just some stats about him. 4 clean sheets in the Premier League, 96.2 save percentage, the highest goals prevented, 7.24, above all other keepers so far in the Premier League. You know, he's basically saved Chelsea almost 8 goals. So far, we could have conceded a lot more in the season, and it just shows you how good a keeper this is. We've heard rumours recently about Donnarumma, you know, Chelsea potentially going in for him over the summer, but Chelsea sticking with Edouard Mendy and making the correct decision, only costing 22 million. Which I think is just proof once again that you don't always have to break your transfer record to improve an area radically. You know, I think it's a sign of great scouting from Chelsea to be able to find a gem in Edouard Mendy, a player, as I say, that there were more sort of glamorous names around that Chelsea could have waited for or even gone for in that summer potentially. But Mendy has turned out to be a wonderful addition to this team. Not only the quality of goalkeeper he is, he's proving this season with those stats that he isn't just protected by a good defence. He's actually an elite goalkeeper. The stats back that up. The eye test backs that up. He's up there with Edison and Alisson, the best keepers. And if Chelsea are going to win the Premier League this season, Mendy is going to be a big part of that, just like Petr Cech was and just like Thibaut Courtois was for us in previous seasons. He deserves so much credit. He just the number of saves he made last night in those dying moments were just absolutely incredible, and you could see the confidence growing within him. He's such a valuable player for us. But I think the biggest positive for me, maybe going forward, and I think overall just behind, I think Mendy was clearly man of the match. Ben Chilwell scoring the winning goal. What an incredible couple of weeks for Ben Chilwell. How quickly things have changed. My post-match piece was on Ben Chilwell. Brilliant strike. He only seems to score good goals for Chelsea, and that sweet left foot finish. But I think the movement of Chilwell to get into that position. You could kind of see it throughout the first half, that sort of inverted run he makes from out wide, that left wing back position. But even under Frank at the start of last season, we saw that kind of position at the back post. He consistently made it. Obviously, the goal didn't come from that, but early in the first half, you see him making those runs. It nearly sets up the chance for Werner that he should be scoring or at least hitting the target. Chilwell was a massive part of that. We saw him make similar runs against Southampton, of course, for England during the international break. He has that ability, which is why he's such a key player for Chelsea moving forward. But I thought defensively, he was sound as ever. I think his sort of height can be disregarded. I think some of the concerns over height yesterday, I think Chilwell uses his mobility and kind of the way he jumps for a lot of aerial challenges. I think he's kind of maybe that's underappreciated. I think he makes up basically for maybe not having the height of, say, Marcos Alonso, and his mobility to drive Chelsea forward at times was brilliant. It really was. So I think Chilwell fully back in the team now, proving why he's going to be a massive player for us this season. Malang Sarr, I mean, there's one other player I think we can pick out yesterday before going in maybe to the negative of Lukaku not being involved. But Malang Sarr, massive surprise to see him starting that game. But for a Premier League debut, the stats speak for a really good performance. 10 clearances, which was the most, 6 interceptions, which was the most, and 3 tackles, the second most on the pitch. Given he's probably the only alternative left centre-back option Tuchel has, I think it says a lot that he entrusts Sarr to start that game with Rudiger injured, with no Thiago Silva. I fully expected that Trevor Chalobah was going to move over to that left centre-back role. But it's a massive moment for Sarr. Only his second competitive game for Chelsea, the other coming in the League Cup. This is his first Premier League game. And yeah, sure, there were shaky moments. It was a back three compiled of players under the age of 26, including Andreas Christensen. And I think all three, that will do them so much good, getting through such a difficult period of the game and coming away with a clean sheet. And I feel that Sarr, just the same as Ruben, as we'll quickly get to, just the same as Ross Barkley and fringe players who've come into the team this year, I think it says a lot about the positive atmosphere within the dressing room, that these fringe players who aren't going to play every week, but they come in and they make a positive impact. I'm not sure under previous regimes we would have seen that. They probably wouldn't have got such a big chance, but also the fact that they come in and have a positive impact on the pitch for Chelsea, I think shows you the level of commitment these players have towards Tuchel, the trust they have in him, but probably the trust he has in them as well. And it just gives Chelsea an option, doesn't it, Malang Sarr? And I remember saying this on the channel, you can go back and watch when we originally signed him. I said it's a really low risk signing. It's a win-win type of situation. Either Malang Sarr turns out to be a really valuable player for us in the first team squad, or we make a profit from him. So I think that Malang Sarr, big night for him, hopefully for his development. Before we get to Lukaku and kind of solving those issues, Ruben Loftus-Cheek. It's been incredible watching Ruben over previous weeks. It really has. My expectations were so low this season, and that was kind of just not to break my heart in terms of once again getting my hopes up over Ruben Loftus-Cheek. But seeing what he's doing at the moment, seeing how he's broken into the team throughout all of the struggles he's had, the elegance he has on the pitch, playing in a deeper role. He's not just playing as a number 8. I found that midfield, sort of that free midfield of Kante, Kovacic and Ruben really interesting. You know, when you look at the heat map, you look at the positions that all three of those players were in, it was kind of quite fluid at times, but I'd never felt in that first half Chelsea lacked any balance there, like in the sense that we were going to be overrun because Ruben was moving forward, making those driving runs from deep that he's so good at. I still think the final pass needs to be there from Ruben when he does make those driving runs, trying to find that final ball. I think that final pass is kind of the key element he needs to improve on his game, because if he adds that final pass, I think he's going to become kind of a certified player in the starting 11, because at the moment, he's the most impressive. You know, he really is driving through. He really is showing that he can be a big player for us. And it's just wonderful to see that Ruben could still fulfill his potential at Chelsea, the high potential, the years of support from Ruben, and for me watching him, and so many of us like Nini FC, who I'm sure were smiling watching that game last night, seeing this talent, seeing this guy who clearly has this talent, that run he had in 2019 under Sarri. There's a reason so many of us were so excited by that run, because of how good he was at the time. So I'm really excited to see what happens with Ruben this year, because I think this could be an amazing opportunity for him, especially as the team is still gelling. Tuchel doesn't really know his best, I guess, 11 or sort of what the attack's going to be, and Ruben has a chance to really stake his claim as being one of those key starters on a regular basis. Let's get to the frustration. Chelsea once again beaten on XG for, I believe, the 6th time this season. We're just not creating high quality opportunities consistently enough to maintain our form. I don't think over the course of the season, the way we're currently playing is going to mean Chelsea can compete with the likes of Liverpool and Man City, who do on a regular basis within their system create high quality opportunities. The stats just show it. But I do worry about Lukaku, more so less about him and his own performance, more so the way we're using him. 19 touches last night, which is the lowest he's had in any Chelsea game so far this season. You contrast that with his first Chelsea game this season, 43 touches. Touches can be sort of over-egged, if you're having loads of touches but you aren't impacting the game, obviously that's a bad thing. But I do think when we watch, say, his performances for Belgium, especially that performance against France in the Nations League, and I wrote a piece on it looking at sort of Wisecout, breaking down what made that performance so good. It was so varied from Lukaku. He'd move over to the side, to the wing, driving from deep, off the ball runs, getting the ball to his feet quickly, which is such a frustration that is still present at Chelsea. We saw this last season, where in central areas, Kante, Kovacic, Ruben, now, Jorginho, a number of midfielders having the ball in a central area, but not playing the ball quickly enough into the feet of the attackers or playing attackers through. So many times last night, Rom was free, he was pinning back a defender and asking clearly for the ball. Or even in the second half when we had to play on the break, he was making good runs, but the ball just wasn't getting to him quickly enough. And Rom clearly was showing frustration. And I'm not just trying to pick out one player here. I think this is a general thing. And because it's a general thing, I do wonder if it's a tactic, if it's an instruction. We're only looking to use Rom when we get into the box. And I just think you're really limiting what Rom can do for Chelsea if that's all we're going to use him for. If we're just using him for a very stationary, static target man, we should have kept Olivier Giroud. I love Giroud, but Rom is not that guy. If you've watched him for Belgium, if you've watched him for Inter Milan, he is so much more than that. He can make runs in behind. He can use his speed and physicality on the wing. He can create opportunities as well. The relationship he had with Martinez at Inter Milan showed you that he's a creator as well. It's just we're not getting the most out of him, and I think Tuchel needs to find that. Is he going to stick with this front two with Timo Werner? I don't think Werner in his overall play did much wrong last night. I was actually quite impressed with some of the runs he made with the ball at his feet, dribbling, getting past defenders, which is something he struggles with. The finishing needs to be better. That one chance he had, I think he could have done a lot better. But I think Tuchel needs to stick with something here, whether that's a change in system, getting more players in the box, bringing personnel like Callum Hudson-Odoi back into the team, Mason Mount starting again, sticking with maybe a trio up there like we saw early in the season with Kai and Mason behind Rom, or are we going to stick with the two up front? I just think at the moment our sort of style of game and the way we're creating chances just isn't enough, I think, to sustain a title challenge, especially with a number of games we've got coming up against favourable opposition where I expect Chelsea to dominate the ball and win these games comfortably. I think Chelsea have a chance to really rack up some goals and get some confidence into that attack. And I think it really starts and ends with Romelu Lukaku. I think, unfortunately at the moment, and I tweeted this last night, a lot of our players going around Lukaku rather than involving him within it, which I think compared to Belgium is the complete opposite. I do understand, we are early days with Lukaku, but I just feel that's something that still is a massive concern. Tuchel did speak about his fatigue after. I wonder if he'll maybe not start the Malmo game, but given the fact that Lukaku hasn't scored in about 6 games now for Chelsea, that is a good opportunity to get him playing against a lower quality opposition and for him to find the goals again. So I wonder if Lukaku will stay in the team. I think the intriguing thing for me is who plays around Lukaku. What is Tuchel going to do to solve this? I think getting the wing backs higher up, I think maybe getting some more midfield runners into the box, getting more bodies in the box when we're attacking, I think is the key here, and maybe letting that handbrake off a little bit more, because it does feel like at times Chelsea are a little bit more reserved, and I think sometimes we need to be quick with our play, because that's how you get players like Werner and Lukaku more into it, I think. So those are my feelings on the game. I think that we have to be pleased that Chelsea in a lot of ways are doing things they haven't in recent seasons, scoring more goals than expected and conceding less than expected as well. Mendy, absolutely astonishing, and why he isn't up for the Ballon d'Or is an absolute crime. It really is. He's been absolutely astonishing for Chelsea. But we're top of the league. We need to be happy about that. I think that's a big plus at the moment. And Chelsea continue to win. Let's hope that stays the same. So thank you guys for watching. Let me know your thoughts on the game in the comments below, and I will see you again.